Welcome to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast. I'm your host, Maritza Barone. In this show, I will introduce you to ideas, concepts, and mindsets that will open your mind to a new world of well-being and personal life growth. Through eye-opening interviews, we elevate people in the world doing amazing things for humanity and share insights that will shift you to become the happiest, healthiest, kindest, and most compassionate version of you. This is a special episode. I've invited a great friend of mine on the show to talk about her diagnosis with cancer and how she came through the other end. And I find it very inspiring to share her story because she looks at a diagnosis very differently to a lot of us. And many of us live in fear of getting an illness or a life-threatening health diagnosis. I know from experience, it can even cause a lot of anxiety just worrying about your health or your future health. And a serious medical diagnosis or an illness is always going to be difficult, not only for the people experiencing the illness, but also for the people around them. Today, we're going to hear from someone who has dealt with an illness in an exceptional way and, as I said earlier, allow us to view a diagnosis differently, in particular when it comes to healing ourselves from within and how we potentially manifest illnesses with our thoughts and our emotional blocks. My friend Francesca Pavone, who is joining us today, has inspired me with her healing choices through her experience of a cancer diagnosis. She's a successful businesswoman, an entrepreneur, a mother of 3 children, and lives a wonderful life. But in 2016, her life took a devastating turn when she was diagnosed with cancer. And what's so special about Francesca is that she used her illness as an opportunity to actually grow and learn. And she also consciously looked at what might have caused it to manifest initially. We will learn today how she helped to heal herself using new behaviours, a positive mindset, and a clean diet, and how she intends to help others to make positive changes in their lives and stay well and thrive physically, spiritually, and mentally. Francesca is such a strong woman who now holds nurture retreats at her wellness property in the Mornington Peninsula, and through her illness, she's incredible. She even managed to win the Telstra Business Awards for her involvement in the 3 businesses that she has with her husband. She's a kind, resilient, and determined person, and I really can't wait to introduce her to the show. Welcome, Francesca.
Hi, Maritza. Thank you so much for having me. It's so excited to be here.
No, thank you. Now, I know talking about what you've been through over the last 3 years can be quite difficult, and we've tinkered on having you on the show for a while now. So thank you for actually being here and opening yourself up to talk about your experience, because I know it's not a joyful experience in your life and it's something that you've had to dig deep with. So thank you again.
Thank you, Maritza.
Now, I don't really want to focus on your illness or the diagnosis too much because I think the magic in your story is the healing part of it. But I think we do need some context, and I want to give everyone out there a bit of understanding about your diagnosis and also what your life was like just before you got the diagnosis.
So really interesting. Life before my diagnosis, I remember I was completely stuck. I was struggling to juggle 3 businesses that I had at the time. Actually, I was a silent partner of a 4th business. And I remember just the pressure of running them all. When you are quite entrepreneurial and you're trying to raise capital all the time, you do have quite a high appetite to risk. And the pressures of trying to manage a young family, trying to be a wife, trying to raise these high-spirited children to be conscious, open-hearted, open-minded, it was all just too much. So I remember feeling quite anxious. I was stressed. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't carving out enough time for my own well-being. I was just generally quite unhappy, and I didn't realise how unhappy I was. But I do remember thinking that there was something seriously wrong with me. I'm quite an intuitive person, and I did take a lot of note of just some of the physical changes in my body. But at that stage, I think I was just too busy to really do anything about it. I think people looking into my life thought that it appeared that I was quite successful, that I was in control, that I was fearless and I had it all together. But I really wasn't. I'm not the type of person that's very good at asking for help. I do internalise a lot and I like to project this positivity. I think I do that quite well. I do project that outwardly. And I'm not very good at talking about, the challenges and the hard stuff. I think I have this incredible resilience and I know that I just had to keep going and had to keep on being that leader at work, being that mum. And it wasn't until one night I was sitting at the dinner table with my husband, Nick, and I decided that I wanted to be completely honest with him and let him know, just give him a real insight into how I was feeling. It was a real pivotal moment for me in my life. I sat there and I felt that I needed to be honest and share with him. I hadn't been honest with him for quite some time, and I told him that I was really struggling with the businesses, struggling to be a mum and to be the person that I wanted to be for everyone in my life. And then I said to him, I self-diagnosed. I said, Nick, I have cancer. And saying that to someone who loves you, who respects you, who admires you, it was absolutely gut-wrenching for him to hear me say that and to see me in such a bad place. And naturally is completely gobsmacked.
So was that before you'd been to any doctors?
So that was 18 months prior to my diagnosis.
Wow. So how did you know? How did you feel it? It was just that unease, that intuitive.
I think that, your thoughts create your life. I think for a long time I was really fearful of getting an illness like this. I was thinking a lot about cancer. It seemed like every second person that I had met had cancer. I think I was around it. And I also knew that the life that I was living was not sustainable. So I felt to a certain degree that I had actually manifested this and that it was going to be a part of my destiny.
Unreal. So once you had that intuitive feeling, you obviously took yourself off to the doctors.
I did. So I went to see, over the course of 18 months, 7 different doctors. Now, I had been misdiagnosed multiple times. I told them how I was feeling and they would say, you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you need to go home, you need to meditate, you need to take it easy. And then other doctors, so at the time that I was seeing the doctors, they thought that I potentially had scabies or it was severe eczema because Hodgkin's lymphoma, which I later realised was my diagnosis, presents with very itchy skin. So I went to see a dermatologist and she decided to treat me in a solarium and she thought that that would actually help to soothe my skin, thinking at the time that it was scabies or eczema or something like that. And I had a course of maybe 6 different treatments with her and that wasn't helping. So there was one moment where I was driving to work and because the itch was so debilitating, I couldn't actually put my hands on the steering wheel and there was a car tooting from behind and that's when I knew that something was terribly wrong. I had presented with this really irritable itch in my skin for over 12 months now at this stage. And I wasn't even able to sit in the same living room as my family to watch TV. I remember sitting in the bathroom on the toilet seat and scratching because I didn't want to irritate them. I wasn't sleeping at night either because I was scratching so much and my body was full of scabs. It was excruciating pain. And I couldn't liken it to anything else. And I knew that the doctors were completely perplexed. They had no idea why I was presenting with these strong symptoms. And nothing actually indicated to the doctors, apart from that itchy skin, that I had cancer. So with going to see these doctors, I did have multiple blood tests. And some people might not know listening that most of the cancers are not detected through the bloods. So I organised a referral to go and have a chest x-ray. So it was that day that I went straight into the hospital as soon as I got the referral. And I knew my dermatologist had told me to wait until after Easter because it was 2 days prior to Easter to have the chest x-ray. And she said, just enjoy Easter with your family. But I knew that I needed to get that chest x-ray done immediately. So that day when the radiographer took an x-ray of my chest, the way that she gasped, I knew that it was cancer. I knew that it was really sinister and it was quite serious. And sure enough, 2 hours later, I received the phone call from my doctor telling me that I needed to be admitted immediately into hospital. At that stage, they didn't know what cancer, but they knew it was cancer.
I mean, obviously, it goes without saying how that felt for you.
So when you are first diagnosed with cancer, so after having a biopsy and after really painful bone marrow tests, they determined that it was Hodgkin's lymphoma and that I had an 11.5 centimetre tumour wrapped around my heart in the median sternum, and I also had a tumour underneath my armpit and on the side of my neck. So even though I had self-diagnosed 18 months prior, I don't think anything prepares you for that validation from that medical validation that I received. I really went through at the time, if you've heard of the Kubler-Ross grief cycle. At first I was in complete denial and shock. I was really confused. I was afraid. I was worried about dying. I was worried about what was going to happen to my children. And so then anger kicked in and I kept on questioning why me. I didn't understand. Even though I had self-diagnosed, I just could not reconcile in my mind that I was about to undertake this journey and there was no control over the outcome of what I was about to go through. And then I hit complete rock bottom. I was quite depressed. I felt really helpless and I was overwhelmed. I felt really isolated and alone. And even though I was surrounded with so much love around me, it was me and it was my body and my survival depended only on me, really. And then that fourth stage of that whole grief cycle was that bargaining stage where I was really trying to come to grips with the meaning of this in my life. So how was I going to reconcile it? It was my struggle to find that purpose, that meaning. I was starting to reach out to other people and to share my story. And then this beautiful acceptance phase, which was that final stage of that cycle, kicked in. And that's where it was this divine tap on the shoulder that was telling me, hey, the life that you're living is literally killing you. And when I realised that, I really started to go into full survival mode. I started researching relentlessly. I was really determined to survive. That's when a really powerful, strong mindset really kicked in. I was prepared to make those dramatic changes in my life and prepared to do whatever it took to survive. And I really did have an incredible, strong will to live. I wasn't going to let it beat me. I knew I was going to overcome it. I didn't quite know how.
What prognosis were you given at the time in terms of what your treatment was going to look like?
So with Hodgkin's lymphoma, it's basically a blood-related cancer. It's a cancer of the lymphatic system and it affects 0.05% of all cancers. So being rare and knowing that only about 600 Australians were diagnosed each year made me quite concerned. I was fortunate that it was still stage 2, even though the mass was so large. And I knew it had been there for a long time. I felt like it had been there for years, potentially had been there for years. It was stage 2. And I think out of all of the cancers out there, I felt that I felt quite blessed that it was Hodgkin's lymphoma, that it was a blood-related cancer, because it does have quite a good success rate if you are undergoing chemotherapy. So I was optimistic, but naturally there are no guarantees.
You did say something earlier, and we've spoken about this before, and it intrigues me. The tumour was wrapped around your heart. Now, emotionally, what do you think that could have meant? Do you feel as though there may have been a bit of a manifestation emotionally?
I believed that tumour was there to protect me. I think that I'm the type of person, very sensitive. I do give boundless amounts of energy and love to people, and I'm not always very good at speaking my truth and standing up for myself. And so I looked at this tumour as a way of protecting my heart.
That's beautiful.
So that's really how I justified it in my mind.
So you gave it love almost in a way and gratitude for
it was
protecting
my friend.
you.
We became friends. I realised that it had a purpose and that I was about to undergo a huge journey of self-discovery, of growth and learning and healing.
Is that tumour still in your body now?
It's definitely not there. I am in remission.
Wonderful.
So I was it was a tricky case in the end. It wasn't that straightforward. Because of the strategic positioning of this friend of mine, we did get some advice from overseas. If I underwent 12 courses of ABVD chemotherapy over 6 months. And then I finished up with 1 month of radiation, which was every day, very intensive treatment. And that was just to zap any residual parts of the mass that would have remained following the heavy-duty chemotherapy. The problem with me was that if I didn't have the radiation, there was a high chance that the cancer would return. But by having the radiation, which was really important to increase my chances of survival, there was a good chance that with that radiation being performed so close to the heart that I could have a heart attack. So I thought, we'll go with the heart attack. If anything was to happen, these days technology has advanced so much, they could easily pop in a stent.
Unbelievable. I mean, I think an illness really takes our control away from our lives, but you consciously made a decision to take your control back. And I know obviously you've done the chemotherapy and the radiation, but you took on a lot of other therapies that helped you heal. Can you talk us through what they were?
Okay, so before I answer this question about the holistic therapies, which I never refer to them as alternative, they're complementary, definitely holistic. They're not for everybody. So if someone is listening out there that has got a diagnosis or knows someone that has been affected, please do seek some medical advice or do some research to see what's going to be right for you. So I'll share what I believe really helped to heal me. And it does include an array of specialists and different healing modalities. So I'd love to share that with you. So I saw an Ayurvedic doctor who was also a spiritual healer. There was a lot of consistent research that I had done that highlighted 70% of cancers being caused by diet, lifestyle, stress and environment. So with my Ayurvedic specialist and my healer, we really focused a lot on stress and emotional blockages. So when we're stressed, we really increase our adrenaline and our cortisol levels. And in turn, what that does, it can shut down your immune system, your digestive system and your reproductive system. So for me, I knew that that was the right place for me to start with my healing journey. And he did prescribe a lot of immune boosting natural herbs and supplements, which I really do believe helped. I saw a psychologist, Lynn Wilson, who was brilliant. We saw each other weekly. I saw a Reiki healer, an exercise physiologist. We trained about 3 times a week, did a lot of resistance training together. I had regular yoga practice. I walked every day. I saw a health coach. I did colonic cleansers and I even purchased an infrared sauna for home.
Totally took control of this. You totally grabbed it by the horns and said, I'm guiding you now. I'm doing everything in my power.
The thing is, in order to receive massive results, you need to make massive changes in your life.
True.
And I was really prepared to do absolutely everything that I could. And so I also did weekly massages as well to help stimulate the lymphatic system. I did a lot of meditation. I went to the Tara Institute, which was a Buddhist temple, and I learned how to meditate. And I did a lot of visualization techniques and guided healing meditations. Do you remember Pac-Man?
Mm-hmm, I do.
So I used to lie down and I used to visualize Pac-Man going through my body and eating up all of the cancer cells. And I had healing crystals. I had daily mantras. One of the mantras that I would say every day and I would repeat time and time again was, I'm safe, I'm healed, and all is well in my world. And I would keep on saying it until I really believed it. And that mantra was inspired by the gorgeous Louise Hay.
Yes.
And then sure enough, 3 months after my diagnosis, I was already in remission.
Wow.
So it was going to be almost a year journey with all of the treatment by the time I was completed. But within a 3-month period, I got the confirmation from the doctors that I was already in remission. So with diet was a huge one for me. So I did do a lot of work on the Gerson theory, which is a plant-based diet. It's about detoxification and supplements. So I followed a very strict regime here, basically having organic plant-based diets with a lot of different raw juices that I would have probably about every 2 hours.
Wow. Dedication.
And the thing is that it's bloody tough. If I wasn't, I called it Hotel Cabrini. If I wasn't in treatment, being administered that chemotherapy, I was in hospital receiving care for all of the side effects. So I was in an isolation ward at one stage because I was so sick. So it is really hard to stay focused, stay disciplined, stay committed when you are so physically weak and you're trying to manage all of the side effects from the chemotherapy. But again, it comes back to mindset.
Exactly.
And it comes
Mindset
back
is
to
so important.
a really strong will to survive and to do whatever it takes to get well again.
I know a lot of people will be listening to this and really loving what you're saying, but also reality of the costs of these holistic therapies. I'm sure they were astronomical. I've done holistic therapies myself. If there were any of them that you really felt attributed or were a part of your healing and were essential to your healing, which of those would you suggest people did first?
Meditation. Meditation is really powerful. All of those guided meditations that I did, the visualization techniques, they don't cost anything. And there is a lot of science there showing the healing powers of meditation.
Meditation, even prior to any diagnosis, is so important. And people are banging on about meditation so much these days. And people are saying, oh, it's becoming trendy and it's becoming cool. But that's a great thing because meditation 10 years ago or 12 years ago, 15 years ago, no one wanted to talk about it really. It was
That's
like
right.
a weird thing that
Absolutely.
weird people did.
That's right.
You know?
There's also a lot of books as well. So I guess some of the people that I was really influenced by was Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, Louise Hay, Ariana Huffington.
Love them all.
Dr. Joe Dispenza, Vishnu Lakhani from Mind Valley, who I know you listen to.
Bang on about Vision
Brilliant.
all the time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Michael A. Singer, Don Tolman, and Chris Walk.
Yep.
And actually, that would probably be the best place to start. So those that probably aren't able to, I felt very blessed and fortunate to be able to invest in some of these alternative therapies. But when I was diagnosed, I wish someone had have just helped point me in the right direction. I didn't know where to start. I was totally overwhelmed and I didn't have a lot of energy because by that stage I was very sick. And rather than just preserving that little bit of energy that I had to cope with the chemotherapy, I would research day and night. And all I wanted was someone just to hand the information over to me on a silver platter to save me and from, I guess, the stress and the pressure that I was putting on myself to help heal myself alongside traditional chemotherapy treatment. And I think the best recommendation I could give people would be to pick up that book from Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. It is incredibly powerful. And I would also recommend Chris Walk's book. And his book is called Chris Beats Cancer. And he has a website and he has these modules that you can purchase online, these tutorials that are not very expensive at all. And he really does break down the 3 pillars of health, which is lifestyle, stress, and diet. And he gives you some really good practical tools to be able to implement to help you on that healing journey. Now, Chris is someone who had stage 4 cancer and he chose to heal himself naturally. He had bowel cancer, which is one of the difficult cancers to cure, and he did it. So he was incredibly inspiring. So for me, I felt comfortable with the fact that I had gone down the path of traditional medicine, but I also used a lot of his strategies to help complement what I was doing.
I think using them in conjunction with one another is really powerful. And you've obviously been a testament to that, but it's obviously still a difficult process to have to go through. But I think the mindset, the taking some of the control back seems to be the big key here. What do you believe healed you, and what was the strongest mindset tool that you gave yourself?
What I believe helped to heal me, number one, was definitely mindset, having a really positive, strong, resilient, determined personality, being surrounded by a lot of love. I had beautiful parents, great family, a lot of friends. I also made a decision not to share my diagnosis with my children, which is a very personal decision. It's different for everybody, but I knew that if I wasn't worrying about these beautiful little humans and the impact that this devastating news was going to have on my children, it would free my mind up to go into full healing mode, just to have this laser sharp focus just on healing. Discipline. I had an immense amount of discipline, and even on those toughest days where I literally couldn't get out of bed, I knew I just had to keep on going. And gratitude. So gratitude really is the secret to happiness. I was always so grateful, and even on those darkest days, I was grateful for the nurses, grateful for the doctors, my eyesight, my legs, my ability to walk, and to have the love that I did around me.
You were focusing on all the good things in your life and not the negativity.
Yeah, there was no, I knew that I wouldn't survive if I had have looked at myself as a victim, and if I had have focused on why me, then I don't think I'd be here today. So it was all of those complementary therapies and the diet, the yoga, the meditation, limiting any of those free radicals in my body, and even getting rid of some of those toxic relationships I believed really helped to heal me. I also was really interested in neuroplasticity as well. And we used to think that our brains are hardwired and incapable of dramatic change. But recent studies show that our brains are in fact a lot more malleable and flexible, and they have this incredible ability to shift physically and psychologically. But I guess our brains, being plastic, it does require more than just crossword puzzles. To rewire the brain, it does require a sustained practice of new behaviour, which really then does challenge the brain to think in an entirely new way. And I did mention Dr. Joe Dispenza before. For those listening, if you jump onto his website, he articulates this incredibly well.
He healed himself from a major spinal injury and taught himself to walk again, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Is that right? Yeah.
You can even access a lot of his information for free through different social media channels, through YouTube. Again, you don't need to spend money here. There's a lot of information available. And mindset mastery, that was really another technique that I used in my healing. I'd learnt that people's brains can be described as having a fixed or a growth mindset. And I guess those with a fixed mindset avoid new challenges out of fear of failure, while someone with a growth mindset sees problems as opportunities to learn and grow. And I believe that I really used my cancer as an opportunity to grow, and I was determined to use my journey as an opportunity to help others. And it was funny, when I did receive that diagnosis, I kind of just knew that this was going to be a part of this journey of mine. This was a part of my destiny. I knew that I needed to understand what this pain and suffering was going to be like, so that I'd be able to share my knowledge and wisdom with other cancer sufferers.
So many people say that the darkest times in their lives were the best and the biggest gifts that they were ever given, because it led them to what they're supposed to be doing today and how they can help others. So you're a true testament of that example. I know you purchased a property while you were during your treatment and going through your recovery and your healing. Tell us about that, and tell us about the retreats that you hold on this property.
I feel really fortunate to have acquired a beautiful piece of property on the Mornington Peninsula in Merricks North. The property is called Tussie Mussy Vineyard and Retreat.
Yeah, in Victoria.
In Victoria. So we actually rent out the accommodation and we do hold one-day wellness retreats there. So the property was purchased so we could grow our own medicinal plants and grow all of our own organic produce free of herbicides, pesticides and poisons. And it was so instrumental in my healing that I wanted to be able to share the magical healing benefits of this property with as many people as I could. And so we ran our first retreat there in June and it was a huge success. We have another one now that I'm running on the 17th of November, which unfortunately is already sold out.
Oh, well done.
But we'll be running another one in a couple of months' time. And we offer 2 different types of yoga. So a strong vinyasa flow for the more experienced yogi and then very soft, gentle yoga for beginners or those that are wanting to really listen to their body and opt for something quite slow and gentle on a Sunday morning. And then we bring in a facilitator to talk. We've actually got a doctor of Chinese medicine that talks about women's health and hormones and the impact of stress on our bodies. And then we do a beautiful sound bath out in the vineyards. So we have someone who brings all these beautiful instruments, crystal bowls, chimes, and basically takes you on this transcendental journey. You enter into a complete state of relaxation. And I know you've done a bit of research here on the benefits of sound on healing and the brain waves. So it's quite powerful. And then we do an organic lunch. And we then offer a little bit of the organic wine at the end with some cheese, and it gives everyone an opportunity just to connect and talk and share.
I think doing things like that and nurturing yourself, because I know it's a nurture-based concept that you follow on your retreats, helps you to hone in on your intuition and those quiet moments and those yoga techniques and the stretching and the sound, all of that awakens our intuition. I truly believe by listening to your story that you so much helped to heal yourself, and I find it so fascinating. Well done.
Thanks, Maritza. I guess these retreats, it's all about reminding women, and we do get some men as well, just the importance of carving out time for yourself. We can get so consumed in our busy lives. And by me sharing my story, hopefully it is a reminder to others that we can't do it all, even though we think we can. Something gives, and often it is our health. So these opportunities to get together and really nurture yourself in nature, take time out to stop, to think, and to replenish the mind, the body, and the spirit is what the intentions are behind these retreats.
You've done so well in helping to heal yourself and get yourself into remission. And I'm so thrilled that you did it because you're a wonderful person and a wonderful friend. And I'd love to know what life is like for you now and what you see for the future.
Life now, well, I'm actually grateful for every single day. I feel like it's a blessing. Life is such a gift. I look at life through different lenses now. But I feel incredibly grateful that I was given this gift and this second chance to live. I'm definitely not perfect. I can slip into some bad habits and old, learnt behaviours, but I'm very quick to recognise it. Now I have skills and knowledge and tools to be able to get myself back on track again.
I remember you said to me a couple of days ago, you said, I feel like a bit of a fraud because I'm running around and I'm so busy at the moment and I need to rein that back in and start remembering the processes that I've taken over this time to get well again.
Absolutely. So as I said, life is very full when you're trying to juggle 3 businesses and 3 children. It can get a little bit overwhelming, but I definitely know how to pull back. I know what my limits are now. I can get sucked in, like this vortex that sucks you in, and you struggle with your own ambitions and wanting to do more, and then realising that, hey, this is a second chance you've been given. You need to scale back. So I have some loved ones that hold me accountable when they see that I'm off track and I need to be reined in a little bit. I'm very good at these intervention measures now, so I know what I need to do. So my yoga practice is a discipline that's incredibly important to me, and I find that that just helps to center me and helps to realign my priorities. It's a lot of thinking time on that mat and a good opportunity for me to plan my day. But I guess I'm much better at carving out time for me, and I'll always spend time researching anything health and wellbeing related. And I do love doing different retreats and workshops, but there's a lot that I do at home as well, just to make sure that I stay centered and grounded and don't slip back into those old ways.
You did mention earlier Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. I think that book is a must read for everybody. I actually said when I read it that people should just be given this at birth and saying, this is what you need to know to live a wonderful life. But yeah, I think it's a great starting point for everyone out there.
And not even for those that are battling a serious illness at all. So the Louise Hay book, You Can Heal Your Life, it's a book that helps you discover and implement the full potential of your own creative powers for personal growth and self-healing. So we all find ourselves stuck in different areas of our life, and it is a fantastic book to pick up that will give you a lot of comfort and help you to navigate through some of those tricky relationships or those areas of your life that you do feel stuck.
It's a good book to just have on your bedside table and read over and over and over again. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful for you being here with me today and for sharing your story to everyone out there who is listening carefully. Thank you for listening to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast. I'd love to keep the conversation going. Let us know what you thought of this episode, and if something really profound came up for you that you want to share, let's talk about it. You can find me on Instagram at Things You Can't Unhear or on my personal page at Maritza_Barone. And if someone you know will benefit from something that was said in this show, make sure you share it with them too. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and keep up to date with what's next. And if you can spare a few seconds, please rate and review the show on iTunes, just so other people can find us more easily and quickly. And as always, my friends, be happy, be healthy, be conscious, and be kind.